Well, we're about to start on this big project. Here we have a 2012 Volkswagen EOS. I have the interior all removed already. I had to pull all of this interior out because it had about 1.5 inches of water sitting on the floor. So I had to get all the carpet padding out, so I had to tear all that out basically immediately after I bought it. Kind of like an emergency thing, had to get that stuff out of there because the longer that water sat in there, the more damage it could cause. As for example, look, this was it's a little case that holds the amp. A lot of corrosion there. That is the only thing that I believe got, damaged as far as like a good amount of corrosion. The amp does work, fortunately, because if you don't know, they are extremely expensive to replace, especially for a car that's 12 years old now. But the reason I bought this car is because it has a jumped timing chain. We all know what that looks like. We got to pull the head off of this one, and I don't have a replacement head, so I'm thinking I'm going to try to rebuild the one that's on here. I'm going to have to replace the valves and all that good, happy stuff. So this is going to be a multiple part series here, because I'm not going to be able to do all this in one day, obviously. So we're going to just kind of chip away at this project. It's going to take a while. It's a lot of work. So let's get started. What I like to do when I'm starting, a project that requires a lot of engine work, especially head off engine work, I like to remove the hood so you can kind of see what you're doing. You don't have to work around the hood and this hood strut being in your way. So it just makes it a lot easier. I'm going to remove this shin snapper right here. So we're going to start by removing the hood, so I will go and do that. There. See how much more room that gives us? Just more breather space, I guess. So we're going to have to remove this wheel exclusively, this one, because we're going to need to gain access to the lower timing components as well as these motor mounts. So, you're going to have to access that through this wheel well here. So I'm going to remove that. I also noticed when pulling these cover caps off, this does have its lock, the key. Thank goodness. A lot of people lose these suckers, but I was able to find this one in the trunk. So, in the roadside kit. So, I'll be able to remove these and replace them with normal bolts, because everyone that knows me knows that I hate those things. I've had to use the old welder method to get them off before because of people losing the key. So we'll have to remove that lower, this aluminum skid plate, because we got to drain the oil. Of course, there's this square access holes you can see here for draining the oil, but we're going to be doing a bunch of work down here with the timing and stuff. So we got to remove this pan anyway. There we go. Now everything's exposed. The boost hoses, the coolant lines and stuff that we'll have to get to. Let's get that wheel off and let's see what we got. So we got this tire off here. So this inner fender is in 2 sections. You can see the seam right there. We're going to take this lower section off. We're going to zip all these off here. Ta-da! There we go. Now we can get our harmonic balancer, the serpentine belt, the boost hose, and all that stuff. We'll get to that later. Let's work on draining this coolant. Here, let me show you. I'm gonna turn my flash on. That'll probably help the focus. There's the loop. Here's the loop I was talking about. So I'm just gonna pull on this. Oops. It doesn't matter if this comes flying off because you gotta put it back on anyway. So I'm just gonna get that thing totally off of there, and then you should be able to pull it. Now nothing should come out of here. Maybe a drip of oil or two, or a stream, but nothing More than that should come out of it. Okay, we're back up top. We're working on getting this boost hose out of the way because we need it out of the way anyway. We have to do that first to get the water, to drain the coolant. In order to get the boost pipe out, you gotta remove this intake piece here. So there are 2 screws, one right here. I don't know if I'm gonna be able to get to this one with this thing. I might have to get my small wrench. There's one right there, and there's one on the other side right there. This air filter off of here as well. Seems why we have to anyway. We're just kind of doing things a little out of order here. I don't know why. It's making it seem like I don't know what I'm doing. Because it's not like I've only done this several times before. It looks like we got our 5mm Allen. We're going to take this bolt out. That bolt out. That one doesn't come all the way out. I think it just stays in place. This one's just clipped in right down there in that little plastic. I think you just yank on that. We're going to pinch here on the left and the right. Pinch and pull. Give it a wiggle. That pipe should come out. There it goes. Like that. That out of the way. That comes off easy. Come on, baby. There it goes. Okay, now that's out of the way. Should be able to get this thing up and around. This. Now look at all the room we have. Yeehaw. Okay. Now, right there, T30 Torx. Let me switch to the T30. Okay. I'm going to maneuver this guy around. Gotcha. Ah, this might not have enough torque to break that bolt loose. Oh, it does. Now this bolt won't come all the way out. It's designed to stay in the. It's designed to stay put. All right, let's go down underneath, and I'll show you where that other one is. It is right there, front and center, easy to get to. Right there, just like that. All right, so now this whole thing is loosey-goose. This is the guy that got oil on us last time. So now we gotta go, it's all loosey-goose. We gotta go up the top right here. It's kind of sticky. This thing really likes to get stuck on there. Took some finagling, but we got it off. Just remember to unplug this guy. It's good. Now I'm just gonna finagle this guy down here, get this guy. Oh, it's getting oil everywhere. There's the boost hose, just like that. So we're gonna come down yonder, and we have more room than we know what to do with now. And we're gonna pop this thing off. Now it's gonna goosh everywhere when you do, so make sure you got yourself a nice bucket. Oh yeah, that's what I'm talking about. Since we're in the mood to struggle with boost hoses, I switched back to my T30, and we're gonna go on the other side. This is the passenger side of the car, and we're gonna start zipping this this boost hose off of here, like so. Like that. We're gonna get this ring off of here, like so. Like you don't have to take these all the way off. I think that's all you need, and that just pulls out of there like that. Yeah, you only have to take them off that far. So we're gonna get our screwdriver, like that, in that position. Ow! Yeah, that worked. All right, how to get this belt off? You get your 17mm wrench and you yeet on it in clockwise direction like this, just like that. So I'm gonna pull these 2 reservoirs off and a bunch of these hoses and connectors and stuff, and then we'll come back and show you what we gotta do next. So you take this reservoir out, you got your T20 screws here and here, and this thing comes out. I decided to take the coolant hose off of here that goes to that bottle. Then these fuel lines have these little buttons on them. You just push them, pull, push and pull. That's this one and this one. These are some fuel lines, I believe. Now this one's a little different. It's got this black tool that's attached to this. You push down on the whole thing, push up, like push up on this like that. Obviously it's slipped over the hose. You pull up on it and then it pulls out. And all these lines are kind of connected together-ish. And then that goes into this high pressure fuel pump here. So you'll take that clamp off. You just got to start unplugging stuff. Anything that plugs into this intake manifold or the cylinder head. All right, I find it easier to take these two screws out. You know, it gives you a little bit more flexibility to unplug this stuff. It's T25. Same thing with this one and this one here. They're T25s. We'll be taking these lines out here in a minute, but I think the way we're going to do that is we're going to disconnect it right here and pull this line. Now these are coolant lines that go down to that electric coolant pump down there. It's a secondary coolant pump. I don't know if we need to... Yeah, we probably should just take that completely off down there. That's an Allen, I believe. Right here. So we're going to disconnect the coolant pump. You know, more connectors. There are connectors all over the place. There we go. So we'll probably take that Allen out. I think that's a 5 mil. Let me check. Yep, it is a 5 mil. So we're gonna... There's a better view of it right there. We'll take this off. You do have to take the oil filter off. You can't take this out with this in here, I don't think. And we got to take this high pressure fuel line off right here. We gotta unplug this thing here, and you can see the trajectory of this intake manifold comes straight out, and there's no way any of this plastic section would clear that filter. So when you get that filter off, you can unplug this, because some of these, see how they've got this little round notch right there in the intake manifold? That's because you're supposed to use a long extension to get to those like that. See? I mean, if you can get them from up here, that's great, but I like to use the long extension. I think that's what they had planned. That's why they got these little notches cut in the, just like that. And there's that one. And you come over underneath. Now these are nuts down here. There's one there. There's one. Oh man, look at that. You gotta have like a long skinny extension to get through that hole. Right there, you can see it. I know it's not gonna focus on that back there, but you can see that. And then there's a nut on that side. So there's just the two nuts on the end. All the rest are screws. Now these are really long screws. They're like 2.5 inches long. Right there, you can see the nut, center screen. Take that off. We gotta take that one out too. And of course, they changed it on us. It is a triple square. Oh. Give it a yank. Don't take it out uneven like I just did. I had one hand. Don't ever do that. I could have very well damaged something doing that way. Try to take it out as even as you can. So this is our intake manifold, and part of that stuff that was all stuck, oh geez. Part of that stuff that was all stuck was these plugs into the injectors. Sometimes these injectors stay in the, I think they stay in the head sometimes, and sometimes they don't. This is fine that they come off, but we'll have to take them all off of there and clean them. And I mean, we gotta take all this stuff off of there and then clean these little flaps, these guys here. Which this intake manifold appears to be working, which is good. These are known to fail. This part, anyway. We gotta clean all this up. Cleaning is the best part, right? I will remove this pipe, the coil packs, the wiring harness. Don't forget about this T30 bolt right here. And then take that clamp off. Okay, that's out of the way. I had to unplug this as well. So now we got to come down here. All right, so there's more wiring stuff. Ah, yeah, I got that one. Then there's this brown one right here. It's a bunch of emissions related garbage. Get that stuff that we just unplugged up here. Just a bunch of finagling and stuff. There. So we'll take this nut off, which will relieve this ground wire, and then we'll take this vacuum line off. We'll be able to get all these wires out the way. This, you just pull really hard. Pops off of there. There, and this whole wiring harness, it could just sit down in here like that. Now, there's bolts going in underneath right here and right here. So you gotta like feel, you gotta reach around. I don't know if I can show you this with the camera or not. I don't know what I'm looking at right here. They're down there. Okay, so we've got those 3 bolts out. 2 of them were 6 mil. Well, actually, all 3 of them were 6 millimeter Allen. So we got those back from back here. I used a mirror so I could see what I was doing. That really kind of stunk. And then there's this guy. You got to take this bolt out. My goodness, you cannot see it. It's like right there. It goes right, it's in here, it's behind here. So that means we got to get this shorty piece of rubber boost hose out. There's that little shorty pipe. And voila, the turbocharger. You can see all of our nuts up top here. Pretty simple, no big deal. An angle like this versus like that straight into the head. You'd be against the firewall. These are pretty cool. I really like the way they did this. I've taken turbos off before and they usually suck, but this motor is not that bad. I'd say, honestly, that stupid cover plate I just took off there is just as much of a pain to get off as this is. So turbo bracket, they are triple square. They look like an M10. They're kind of tight because they're right next to the drive shaft on this one, so you'll need to take both of those out of there. Pry bar and bend this bracket away from the block a little bit, because you'll see later we gotta tip the turbocharger back just a little bit to get it off. There we go, like that, and give this thing a little bend like that. Take these 2 bolts off here and here. These are 16 mil. Now you can see I can reach all the way up here to that last nut. It's right there. We gotta remove this coolant stuff going on here. There are some screws, T30s. You can see 2 of them right there, really close together. You gotta remove both of those, I believe. At least one of them. At least this one closest to you, the one that's going straight. This is a hard coolant line right there. You got to take that off because that's all bolted to the head. So anything bolted to the head that won't come off with the head, you got to undo. So we're going to go ahead and take these coolant lines out. We might have to take them all the way off going into the firewall. They've got more of those little wire style. You can see it in there. Wire style clips, just like everything else, like the boost hoses down there and like there, like we did in the beginning. But we're gonna start with getting those bolts out, those little T30s right there, and get these hard lines that run through here off. Then we're gonna come over here, get the jack out, jack the engine up, and unbolt all of these engine mounts on this side so we can access that timing chain. We got a steel oil pan It's pretty rigid right where I have that jack, so it's not going to dent it or anything. The engine doesn't weigh that much on this end. So I got the jack under there just holding it, basically. Put a little bit of upward tension on there. Let's start with our 13s. 16s. Our 18s. All right, got the first one out, and wouldn't you know it, 12 triple square. Triple square coming through for us today. Here's the other one. You can see it right there. Pretty easy access. The third one, or whatever, depending on which order you do it in. The one back there is a little more sticky to get to. We'll try to figure that out, but looks like you can get this one right there with your wrench just like that. Just keep cranking away at it. This one right here, I can't really get enough room to get the socket and the wrench in the same spot and back that screw out because there's not enough room this way. So I think we're gonna have to drop the motor down to get that one. Dropped it down and there it is. We gotta take that there triple square bolt out to get that last bit of bracket. So I think we're gonna start with taking the dipstick off. You got another T30 right here. Don't forget about this T30 right here as well. It's a 24 mil. Now, if you were doing a timing chain replacement and your engine was still good, you would want to be very careful with doing this and put the bolt back in with this special tool washer doohickey bob, but this engine's already jumped time and the valves are already bent, so we don't care. We got to take a bunch of T30 screws out. We're going to start by doing the ones on this top plastic cover. There's like, I don't know, 5 or 6 of them. 2 on the bottom, looks like 3 on the top. You got to take all these off as well. Be careful with this, you don't want to break it, it is plastic. The seal, don't worry about it, you're going to be replacing it anyway. So, just try to get it off nice and straight-ish. Some of the screws might try to catch. Make sure they're all the way out. There we go. As you can see, the teeth and the chain are peaked, like it's in the middle of jumping right now. It's like halfway through a jump. That's kind of cool. I've never seen that before. So, it's kind of cool. Anyway, let's go down here. You can see all of these T30s, these little short silver screws going into this lower cover. There's a whole bunch of them. Now, don't forget the one that's right behind this little turbo outlet right there. There is another one. I've got them all out except for this one. There's one behind this tensioner. So you want to get your wrench and yank it out of the way. It's right up in there, you see it? So obviously I can't get to this and film it at the same time, but you can either take this off or just do what I did and pull this up out of the way and get to it that way. Alright, we got all of those T30s out. We're going to get our fancy scrape. And we're just going to do one of these. And here we have our exposed timing chains. You can see immediately that is the old style chain tensioner. Get our T30 again and take the 2 screws out of this tensioner. Pull that tensioner off. Now you're going to need a special Volkswagen tool to take this off. This is reverse thread. Sorry for the gunshots. Neighbors are shooting because it's, you know, Marca. Alright, so that's where that goes. There we go. It is reverse thread. And there it is. Don't drop it. I'm sure this part isn't cheap. Okay. This chain guide off right here. That's also a triple square. Okay, got that bolt out. That guide just slides out the bottom. Take this chain off. Drop it because it's junk. Okay, now, we are getting there, folks. Let's take all of, I'll take this line off of here. Oh my gosh, dude, seriously. And I was gonna say, take all of these T30s out of the top. All of them, every single one that you see running through the top of this cam cradle, valve cover, whatever you want to call it. It acts as both. This PCV valve will come off here separate, and then Yeah, take all of them out of there. There's probably 30 of the dumb things. That should be enough to get... Oh! That's what happens when you yank that thing off with one hand. Open this up, we can see some more in here. You gotta just... It is. Here's our high pressure fill pump. We have one more bolt right there. And this guy's coming off. There we go, that's off. You can see why we gotta take that off. Cam runs into it, and this is what that looks like. There it is. Cams get their own special treatment. They just come right out. Do not drop them. If they hit the floor, they're garbage. As soon as they hit the floor. Do not sword fight with them. Do not let your children touch them. Okay, this is known as a posi drive. You can buy them pretty much anywhere. Well, anywhere online. Your hard auto parts stores might not have one, but they're known for being brittle. They do break. In fact, this one has already broke once, and I just cut it off and have been using it since. So they usually break when taking head bolts out versus putting them in my experience. But we're going to give it a go. I'm going to try to break all of these in their orders, like this one, this one, this one, this one, like go in a star pattern or whatever, and get all these bolts broke, and then I'll get the impact on here and zip them all out. And these I will pull out of the engine and then yank this head off. Okay, so we've got all these head bolts loosened. Don't forget to get your T30, man. You know, we use it for everything. Everything's T30 or triple square. And make sure you get these bolts out. Right there. Then I'm going to take that guide out. It is a 12 triple square here and down there. Okay, so here's our cylinder head. Before I flip this over, all these little rockers or lifters or whatever you want to call them will fall out. So you want to pull them out and put them in the order that they came out in. So we're going to do it like this. This is the front of the motor, so that's where the intake manifold goes. And we're going to put them in an order just like this so that they don't fall out. Get damaged, we will inspect all of these. Make sure none of them are damaged. And we should be able to reuse all these. Like these weird witness marks on the exhaust valves on this one. This was open, and then when this exhaust valve opened, it crashed into this one. Same thing here. You can see, well, I don't know if you can see, but I can see there's a little ding in this intake one right there where the two valves actually collided because they were both open at the same time, I think, right? That's what it looks like to me. So anyway, thanks for watching. Hopefully you stick around to see part 2, where we get to rebuild the head with all new intake and exhaust valves, as well as a brand new timing chain and tensioner. Our, we got all the seals here, all our gaskets. We got our brand new head gasket, as well as our head bolts. We got some other hardware that's not here yet, but we'll be putting this all back together, going through that head, taking all the valve springs out, dropping those bent valves out, lapping new ones in, and prepping all this surface to put this thing back together. So if you're interested in how this is going to go, make sure you tune in for part 2. In the meantime, thanks for watching, and we'll catch you on the next one.